starting in on our back with our knees bent. So just land there for a moment. So once you get settled in there, feet can be wherever they feel comfortable. They can be really, I like to have them pretty wide so my legs can relax, but somewhere where their legs can relax. And feel free to, pop into Shavasana if that feels okay for you too. We don't have to have your feet on the floor. Just, you were fine. Well, stay in Shavasana. That's good. If you're comfortable, like we were going to come into bridge is what I mean. But because for some people, for me anyway, like this early in the morning, and even if it's not this early in the morning, if it's in the beginning of my practice and my back is tight, so not my back, but my body is tight, it bothers my back laying in Shavasana. So I start with my knees bent, feet on the floor. So you might not have to. Find the breath. Congratulations to those of you who have landed on your mat this early in the morning. And congratulations to you, Bill and Emer, for landing on your mat whenever it is, because it doesn't matter the time of day. Every time we land on our mat is a good thing. So just take a moment to appreciate the fact that you're on your mat. Connect with the breath. And just start to feel the breath in the body, however it feels right for you in this moment. We don't have to do anything in particular. Just feel it. Feel the ebb and the flow, the expansion of the inhale, the release of the exhale. See if you can let the arms and shoulders get any heavier. See if you can allow the jaw to soften a little more. Let the belly relax. Let the body just sink into your mat. And let's find a little bigger breath. So let's take a nice big inhale. Nice releasing exhale. It can be through the nose or the mouth, doesn't matter. Let's do one more of those. And then if your knees are not bent and feet are on the floor, then go ahead and bend those knees and put your feet on the floor. And then just start dropping the knees from side to side, just windshield wiping from left to right. And stretch those legs out long, reach those arms on up overhead, and just reach straight on out. So palms can be facing up or in, it doesn't matter. Just reach on out, draw those arms towards the floor. Maybe they touch the floor, and lift the ribs up towards the ceiling, creating a gentle back bend, reaching through either the heels or the toes, doesn't matter. And then bend one knee, bring that hand and grab that knee, that hand down. So if it's your left knee, grab it. Stretch out through the right. So reach through that right foot, reach through those right fingertips. Get a little longer. Can you grow a little longer? And then stretch that leg out, reach that other arm back up overhead, and then switch. Bring that other knee in, reach down, grab it. Oh, my knee is so stiff this morning. I gotta be honest, you guys, I am not happy about this whole knee replacement thing. They said six to 12 months. Well, it's been working on 8 months now, and I am not happy. Draw that knee into the chest as you reach on out long. And then reach down, grab that other knee, bring them both in. Give a little rock from side to side. Really curve in. So like draw your belly down in to your mat. Rock from side to side, stretching out that low back a little bit, giving it a little massage. Go ahead and let's bring those feet back down to the floor. So let's have them a little bit wider than we would for bridge. Okay? And how far away they are, you can play around with. Arms along the sides. And then lift up and wiggle those shoulders in a little, just a little, not much. On the inhale, lift on up. On the exhale, come on down. So the arms don't need to be right up against us like they would be for bridge. They can be out a little bit to the sides. You can play around with those feet. There's no special place they have to be. So as you lift those hips up and down, think about using the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the glutes a little bit, but try and not be all glutes. So we kind of overpower the glutes here and don't give the hamstrings a chance to work enough. So think about those thighs, the tops of the thighs reaching up to the ceiling just as much as the hips. And then once you get up there, draw that chest towards the chin. That'll be our inhale. Exhale's coming on down. Close those eyes and find your rhythm with your breath. Good. And the next time you come down, pause there, drop those knees from side to side again. It doesn't matter where your feet are. They can be really wide, they could be close, doesn't matter. And let's drop those knees on over to the left and just let them fall there. And as you let them fall to the left, focus on bringing the right knee down. So you're really trying to bring that right knee down. If you want to take the left foot up on top of that knee, feel free. So you're kind of dropping your left leg on top of that right knee to bring it down further. If that feels okay, if that's too much, then just don't do it. Just let that leg drop. So as you're pulling that right knee down, pull away from it. So you're kind of rolling your right ribs open towards the floor. So you're spinning your upper body towards the floor, bringing that right arm into the floor. Maybe you can even drop your head to the right if that feels okay. Close the eyes and tune in. Where do you feel this? Find the breath there. And lift back up to center. Reposition those feet. Get them back to where you had them a moment ago for your hip lifts. And come on back up. Nice inhale. Lift those hips high. And exhale, bring it down. So thinking of those thighs reaching up towards the ceiling just as much as the hips. And thinking about that chest drawing towards the chin as well. Good. And the next time those hips hit the floor, once again, dropping those knees from side to side. And let's take them on over to the right this time. So let those knees fall to the right. And then whatever you did on the other side, wow. Whether you put that leg on top or not, jeez. Noticing how this side feels compared to the other. Finding that kind of resistance, that pulling away in the upper body. So you're moving them in a kind of opposite directions. Good. And let's take it back up, this time pulling those knees back into the chest. Give a nice squeeze, give a nice rock. All right, let's get those feet back down on the ground. This time a little bit closer to where we would have them for bridge. They don't have to be perfectly in that position. Just if you had your feet really wide, maybe not as wide. So just lift the hips up and reposition. See if you can get your ankles pretty much underneath your knees. They don't have to be exactly under the knees, but as close as you can get them. Now let's wiggle those shoulders in a little more and get those arms a little closer. So a little more closer to our normal bridge pose. So press into those upper arms and shoulders, draw the chest towards the chin. Make sure those feet are as close to being underneath the knees as you can. Engage your glutes and then stretch that left leg on up to the sky. So the ankle's right above the hip. And then use that right side to lift a little more. See if you can lift that hip a little more. It's like you're reaching your foot up to the ceiling. It's like you're trying to touch that left foot to the ceiling. Breathe there. If that bothers your back a little, because it's kind of early for this, come on down a little bit. You don't have to reach up all the way. Maybe you can reach a little higher. Find the breath. And then as you come down, once those hips come down, bring that ankle on top of that thigh for figure four. Loosen those shoulders, so spread those shoulders out, and then come in and out of figure four. Okay, so just moving that right knee towards the chest and then bringing the foot to the floor. So just going back and forth from foot being on the floor to lifting it off the floor and bring that knee towards the chest to wake up that left buttocks, bum. Listen and say butt. My first teacher training that I did, I had Leslie, you know, Leslie hated when I said butt. I'm like, well, what do you want me to call it, Leslie? She's like, bum. I want bum. I'm like, okay, bum. So we used to joke and just use every other term that we could possibly think of. All right, let's reach through that heel. So draw the left toes towards the shin and come on in nice and slow and easy. We're not warmed up, so it may not be the way that it was last week when we did this pose. It may be a little different because we did it at the end of class last week. So just notice, close the eyes, tune in, sink the back of those hips into the ground. So try and glue the center of those hips, that sacrum, into the ground. And just slowly, maybe you can slowly come deeper and deeper as those muscles start to stretch out a bit. All right, let's bring that right foot back down to the ground. Cross your left leg over. So just cross that left leg like you're sitting in a chair and crossing your legs. And then drop on over to the right. Kick your right foot out straight. So now your right leg is kind of pinning your left leg down. Hopefully that all makes sense. So be really careful with this because that's a lot, having that leg pinned like that. So as you open up into your twist, go nice and slow. Maybe you don't stretch the arm all the way out to a T. Maybe you keep the elbow bent and by your side. So play around with this as you come into the twist, spinning those ribs open. So for me, this is really tight in my low back as I spin open. So I'm actually kind of massaging, like, okay, loosen up there, loosen up, loosen up. And then maybe that arm can fall open, maybe not. Find the breath there. And slowly come to center. Keep those legs wound up kind of, so you get those crossed legs again, and drop all the way over to the other side. So this is the same twist we did earlier, except now that leg is on top. So we've got that left leg stacked on top of the right as we fall on over. So again, maybe you can't, maybe the knee doesn't come down as far towards the floor because you've got that other leg on top. Maybe the arms just kind of fall open. You can play around with this. It doesn't have to be any particular way. Let's bring it back to center. Grab those knees, bring them on in. Give a little squeeze, little rock. All right, let's reset back to our bridge pose. So take a moment to set up that bridge. Getting those ankles underneath those knees, arms nice and close. Wiggle the shoulders in underneath you a little bit. Okay, and again, lift up. And then extend that right leg up to the sky. So just straight up above the hip, and then start to reach that foot towards the sky. Wow, this is hard on this side for me. Goes to show how weak my quads are because this requires some quad strength. I have to interlace on this one to have enough strength to stay up here. My goodness, we haven't done this one in a while. Find your breath and reach those toes way up to the sky. Can you lift any higher? Breathe. And slowly bring it down. Bring that ankle on top of the thigh. Setting up for your figure four. Spread those shoulders out underneath you, so let them widen again. And then start coming in and out of your figure four. All right, the next time you come in, hold it there, flex that foot, that right foot, reaching through the heel as you come in to the side. Notice how this side feels compared to the other. Taking your time to slowly come into it. Close those eyes and tune in. Don't be in a hurry. The slower we go into stretches, sometimes that it doesn't cause the body to get into that reactive mode. It like can ease its way in. And a lot of times we end up getting further than we would if we just dive into it. So take your time, slowly going deeper as the body allows, giving some time for it to open up. And release that foot back down to the floor. Cross that right leg over. So again, just crossing those legs like you were sitting in a chair, and drop on over to the left. Once you drop over to the left, kick that left leg out straight so it's pinning that right leg down. And then again, nice and slow, start to come into your twist, because this side may be different. Listen to your back, listen to your shoulder. This side doesn't bother me near as much. That's interesting. And these are the little things that you want to notice, like not just where do you feel it, but how do you feel it? Like on the other side, like it was like, ooh, big strain in my back just to open into the twist. On this side, I feel it. I don't even feel that at all. I can actually feel the rest of what's going on. I feel the shoulder, I feel the outside of the hip a little bit. So just notice those little things. So easy to get bored in our practice when we're holding a pose for even just a breath or two. So the best, our dharana, if you will, our single point of focus is just the sensations in the body. All right, let's bring it up and over, all the way to the other side. Keeping those legs crossed, using that right leg to hold that left leg down as you open into your twist on the other side. All right, let's bring it back to center. Grab those knees, hug it on in. Give a little squeeze, little rock. And let's make our way on up to seated. Let's not stay on our backs all day. Although I could this morning. Jen's like, yes, can we just stay on our backs for all day? Come on up, we're coming right into cross-legged. Bring that funny feeling leg in front. Give a little wiggle, wiggle those sitting bones back and pull your hips forward. And then try not to be like into a really tight cross-legged, so move the legs forward a little bit, almost like a mini fire log. That's where I live. That's my normal cross-legged. Okay, and let's start to wiggle those hips back a little, or those sitting bones back a little more, and try and pull those hips forward into a forward bend. So take your time, keep that heart nice and lifted as you make your way forward. Keep the shoulders back. Take your time. And come on up. Let's bring those arms up. So yogi's choice here, you can kind of come into these goddess arms, or you can have that's a little stronger, or you can have the fingertips on the shoulder. Let's start with fingertips on the shoulder. Let's all do the same. And then I'll give you the option to pop up. And if that doesn't feel good, go back to where we start, okay? So fingertips on the shoulders, or as close as you can get them, and just start twisting from side to side. You can choose your pace. You can go nice and slow. You can pick up the pace if your body feels like that's available. All right, let's see what it feels like to bring those fingertips up. If that's too much, because it does add some weight to the back, then bring those fingertips back down. And fingertips back to the shoulders. And slow down if you're going fast. And let those hands land on the knees. Close the eyes, sit up tall. Find the breath. Soften the shoulders down. And inhale, lift that heart into a seated cow. Roll those shoulders way back, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Round it on out. Lean back on your exhale. Grab your knees like you're going to fall backwards into this seated cat. Pull those hips forward. Come on back into your seated cow. Nice inhale. Oh, and nice releasing exhale. One more. Go ahead and let's roll it on forward into tabletop. So let's shift those hips from side to side when you get there, left to right. Just saying a little hello to the outside of those hips again in a little different way. It's been a couple weeks since we've done hip circles, so let's make a nice big circle with those hips. I know I say this every time we do it, but it seems like such a silly, simple movement. Let's go the other direction, but you're getting into the knee joint, the hip joint, the shoulders and wrists, and kind of moving that whole joint around, giving it its full range of motion, which is good for those joints. All right, let's bring it on back to center. You might need to do a little readjusting to get those knees under the hips and those wrists under the shoulders. Let's work our way into 3 cow and cats. So whenever you're ready, nice inhale. Let's get those feet involved too. So either on the inhale or the exhale, tuck those toes under. Doesn't matter. I like to do it on the exhale only because a lot of times on the exhale, we'll come up into down dog. And so we've got those toes already tucked under and ready to go, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't take that much time. It's not that hard to go from being untucked to tucked. All right, let's land in cat and tuck those toes under. Scoop that tailbone way forward towards the forehead and draw that forehead back towards the tailbone. Push away from the floor and push your middle back to the sky. Lift those knees up. Step the feet back a little bit if you need to for downward facing dog. Adjust the hands to where they need to be. Get those tight shoulders. Take those hands a little wider. Open them up if you need to. And find some movement here. So I got a bad cramp. It wasn't really a cramp. It was more like a strain in my calf I think it was last Saturday. And it's still there. Like I can still feel it. Muscle gut. So interesting what happens to muscles. All right, let's press it on back, stretch it on out, and take it down to Utthita Balasana, extended child's pose. Stretch it out long once you get there. Stretch those arms on out. Give those wrists a little stretch if they need it. Lift those hands up and push those wrists forward if you need to or just want to, if you just like that variation. I need a longer mat. These 68-inch mats barely fit me, but I like these ones. I like these rubber mats. All right, let's draw our belly into the spine as we reach that bottom towards the heels. And lift the hands up if they're not already. So you're making those tents out of your teepees out of your hands, if you will. Push your wrists forward, look forward in between those hands, and start to draw the chest down towards the floor. Saying a little hello to those shoulders. Maybe the chin gets really close to the floor, maybe not. And then lift up. Reposition those hands for your downward facing dog. You probably have to walk them in a little bit and come on back up. Let's take those wide feet. So come a little wider than the hips and press on back. Draw the heels down, draw the belly in, and shift forward. Don't bother adjusting anything to get into a perfect plank. Go right past those wrists if you can, and then press it back. Just going back and forth, getting into the shoulders. Feel free to dip the hips down a little bit, almost like you're going to come into up dog if that feels okay. If that doesn't feel okay, then don't do it. You can just rock back and forth. If you are going to dip those hips down, push away, roll the shoulders back like we would for up dog. See how that feels. If that's too much, you can play around here. I'm not looking for anything in particular other than getting into those shoulders, getting into those hips, getting into the backs of those legs. All right, the next time you push it back, push back, way back, as far back as you can, and drop it back down into our extended child's pose. Lift those hands on up, give those wrists a break, stretch them on out. Find that breath. So keep a little lift of the heart, draw the belly in, subtle little tuck of the tailbone as you push forward through those wrists and pull back through the hips. Nice big breath there. And let's lift up, shift forward, bringing the forearms down to the floor, bringing those elbows on down. So you can have the palms flat or you can interlace. Either way, get those knees in underneath the hips. Press on up away from the floor. So get that collarbone pushing away from the floor. Draw the belly in. Stretch that right leg on out behind you. Square off that hip. So bring that right hip down so it's the front of the hip is aiming straight down towards the floor. Okay, keep pushing that collarbone away from the floor. On the inhale, take the leg out to the right, look over the right shoulder. On the exhale, cross it over all the way over to the left as far as it will go. Look over the left shoulder. So imagine you're drawing a straight line with your big toe from one side to the other. So if you want to work on some core, when you come over to the right, you can really work that there. Or not. It can be a little strain in the back, so listen to your body. All right, the next time you come over to the left, see how far, like even if you have to like spin your upper body over to the right a little bit, see how far over to the left you can get that foot. Flex the foot, tuck the toes, drop that foot down on the ground, and then curve around. So drawing your left shoulder towards your left hip, looking over that shoulder at that foot. Push away from the floor, draw the belly in. See if you can push into the right hip a little bit more. Engage the core, float that leg up and all the way over. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Let it land on the floor over to the right. Inch it forward until your ankle is pretty much in line with your knee and toes are aiming forward. And then bring that right hip down until you start to feel that right inner thigh. And just hanging out there. And all of it's right here in this hip, and this hip is trying to come down and get level with the other hip. May not happen. Okay, let's come on up to the hands and keep working that hip on down. And we'll do our twists here. So press away from the floor, open that left arm up. As you open that left arm up, same thing, keep working that right hip down to try and get into that inner thigh. See if you can bring the arm behind the back. So the hand can just land wherever it lands and open up that shoulder. Press away from the floor. See if you can spin the heart open anymore. Breathe and continue to pull down through that right hip. Stretch that arm on out. Nice inhale. Exhale, thread it through. It's going to be a little different because we didn't move our arm forward. So we're going to end up reaching right for that toe. Might not get all the way down to the shoulder. That's okay. Inhale, open up. Focus on that hip when you open up into your twist, pulling that hip down. Exhale, thread it through. Reach for the toe. Dive it down. Good. Inhale, open. Exhale, bring it through. One more time. So when we come through this time, take a moment, dive down, think about the alignment of your head and your hips. You want your head to land right in the center, so it's still in line with the center of the hips. And then maybe you make it all the way. If, you know, our goal is not to grab our foot or touch it. It's however long your arms are. So that's falling open. If you can't get all the way down to the shoulder, stay up on the elbow. When you're ready, open up that right arm. So it can be up here. It's beautiful. That arm can stay open and you can really work on the shoulder. You can bring the arm behind the back. Either way, whether you're down on the elbow or the shoulder, that left knee is still under the hip. Find your breath. Bring that right hand down to the ground. Press on up. Bring that knee on in. Nice inhale into cow. Exhale, cat. And yogi's choice, downward facing dog, extended child's pose, or really anywhere else the body wants to be right now. Find a place that feels good. If you're still like, oh, we haven't moved enough, it needs some movement, down dog is that great place to just find some movement. Does not matter where the hands and feet are right now. I don't care. Doesn't matter. We're just trying to get this body moving a little more. Because we only have a half an hour left to stretch the rest of this out. All right. Let's take it down to those elbows. So making your way into this kind of elbow down tabletop, if you will. So take a moment to get to there from wherever you were at. Hips are over the knees, elbows under those shoulders. Push that collarbone away from the floor, draw the belly in. Stretch that left leg on out behind you. Keep that hip level so it doesn't open up or left. On the inhale, take it over to the left, look over that left shoulder. And then over to the right, look over that right shoulder. Same thing, gently kind of pointing that toe, trying to draw that straight line from side to side. The further you go out to the left, the more core you can work there. All right, the next time you come over to the right, reach it on over. How far over to the right can you go? Flex that foot. Tuck those toes, plant that foot down on the ground and curve around, drawing the right hip and shoulder together like you're trying to cinch them together as you kind of push over into the left hip. Looking at that foot, breathing. Engage the core, float that leg up and all the way over to the left. And take a moment, once it lands, it probably has to inch forward a little bit to get that ankle in line with the knee. Give or take, toes aim forward. I need to sip my coffee. I stole Hannah's coffee cup this morning. All right. Bring that left hip on down. So try and really relax that inner thigh as you focus on just trying to bring that left hip joint as low as the right. You're trying to level off the back of the hips. Really what we're trying to do is get a stretch on the inner thigh and start to open up that inner thigh. So notice how this side feels compared to the other, if you can remember what the other side felt like. And just take a peek underneath, see if your right hip is over your knee. Just hang out here for a moment, noticing the sensations. All right, let's come on up to those hands. Okay, so same thing, as we open up to the right, we're really focusing on bringing that left hip down. Let's pause here on this first one, and you can keep the arm extended or bring the arm behind the back. And either way, we're trying to spin that heart open to the side a little more and pull that left hip down. Find your breath there. Notice how this side feels. And let's go ahead and stretch that arm out if it's not already. Nice inhale. Exhale, thread it through, dive down, reach for that foot. And inhale, open back up. And again, on your inhales, focus on that hip pulling down so we can loosen up that left upper inner thigh and joint. All right, next time you thread through, pause, find your elbow, open up, or if you can get all the way down. So if you get down, just make sure your shoulder's not too close to your knee and your hips aren't pushing back. We still want that hip over the knee, that right one. So, and again, think about your head being in line with the center of your hips before you open up. And then open on up, whether you're on your elbow or your shoulder. Maybe you give that, we should have said it on the other side, but this wrist feels a little more tired to me than the other one did, so I'm thinking about doing it. Move that wrist around if you get the arm extended, or you can bring the arm behind the back. Wherever you're at, whether you're on the shoulder or the elbow, press into the floor to help you open and twist a little more if it's available. Breathe there. And unwind, bring that left hand down, push on up, and bring that knee on in back to our tabletop. Coming on into cow and cat. Nice inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Next time you exhale, pause there, tuck those toes, lift those knees up. Back to our downward facing dog. Let's take those feet wide again, just a little bit wider than the hips. Draw those heels down, draw the belly into the spine as you push those hips as far away from the hands as the body will allow. Bend those knees slightly, walk your hands back towards your feet to the back of your mat. Grab those elbows when you get there and drop it on down. So dropping nice and heavy here, keeping a bend in those knees. Wiggle that head a little, bob it around, get it to let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go. Soften the jaw. Maybe a nice inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. On that exhale, feeling the body drop a little heavier. Feel free to let the arms dangle if you like. We can just hang on to those elbows. I like to do the elbow grab when we've done a lot of wrist stuff. It just kind of stretches out the wrists a little bit. They can just dangle. So start shifting from side to side, just kind of swaying. It's more in your legs than your upper body. You're not really doing anything with your upper body. It's shifting over to your right leg, shifting over to your left, and just kind of swaying from side to side a bit in the legs and the hips. And the torso is just kind of coming along for the ride. All right, now let's switch it. So now let's swing the torso. So swinging around over to the right, swinging on or over to the left. The legs are involved a little bit here, but it's different. It's a different motion. We're swinging around from side to side. Maybe lifting the arm a little bit if you like that variation as you swing over. And let's drop to center. Drop those arms if you're still holding the elbows and slowly bring it up nice and slow. Head is dropping into the chest. Arms are dangling all the way up. It gives that nice little extra stretch in the upper back and neck. If you really focus on that head dropping, those arms dropping all the way up. Sweep it on up. Bring it to the heart. Bend those knees. Good old staff of Brahman. Wouldn't be a Friday morning without it. Nice big inhale up. Nice, releasing exhale, dive it down, arms to a T, keep going until you get a stretch in the backs of those legs. It's time to start stretching out those legs a little bit more. Lift back up halfway, slight bend in those knees, sweep it forward. Draw the belly way into the spine as you reach from hips to fingertips. Let it go, drop it down. Dangle into ragdoll, let those arms dangle this time. Again, maybe give the head a little wiggle, a little bop. Let it go a little more. Feel a little more. Let go. Let go, Jen. Let go. Heavier, heavier, heavier. Let that jaw soften. Give it a little wiggle. Stop that clenching. All right, let's take our time coming up again. Nice and slow. Stretching those arms out once you get up there this time. And back up. Into the heart, bend those knees. Happy Friday, good morning. Nice big inhale up. Nice, releasing exhale, hinge, dive it down. Nice big inhale overhead, a little bend in those knees. And drop it on down to the ground, let it go. And nice big inhale all the way up this time. Stretch those arms out. And bring it up and back to the heart. Again, nice big breaths. Open those toes, drop it on down to your yoga slouch. It doesn't hurt, it's just tight. Like my knee is just so tight. I don't understand why. I stretched it yesterday. Scoop that tailbone under, draw the belly in, take those elbows, push those knees away as you draw the thumbs as close to the heart as you can get them. Hopefully your bottom's closer to the floor than mine is. All right, let's take it back down, walk it forward, back to our downward facing dog. Stepping those feet on in. Once you get there, step into your railroad track. So you've got those feet about 6 inches apart or so. Bend that left knee, Sink the right heel down, push back. So peel that right heel way off the floor. So you're just on the toes and you're stretching out those toes. And then you're doing the opposite on the other side. So you're really drawing that heel down and stretching out that leg. And switch. So again, peel that right heel way off the floor as you sink that left heel down as low as it will go. Breathe. Both knees bend. So you're on both toes. Well, you know what I mean. Look forward, all toes, and tiptoe it to the front. Don't worry, we're not going to do the balancy thing. So bring those feet all the way together. So the big toes are touching, heels hug in, ankles hug in, knees hug in. Sit on down. See if you can sit down nice and low all the way onto those calves. So I can't do it because of my knee. So this knee is starting to go. So pretty soon I'm not going to be able to demo any of this stuff. It's going to suck so bad. I'm like, no, yeah, you're on your toes. So try and hug your knees together, Will. That'll actually help with the balance. And try and bring your heels in. Yeah, you got it. Or not, right? So, right, so it ends up, I can't come down that low, so I end up being way up here, but I can still do it, right? All right, sink those heels down, rise up, scoop those arms up. Nice big inhale. And exhale, let those arms float down. Give those shoulders a little roll. We made it to the front of our mat and standing. All right, let's give a little space in between those feet. Hands to the heart. Nice big inhale up. Exhale, dive it down. We're going to flow through a couple times because we're running way out of time here. We're getting short on time, so let's get some energy flowing. Find that forward bend, half lift, inhale. Exhale, step it back, plank. Find a nice solid plank there. Feel free to drop the knees down if you want a little gentler variation. Push on up through those arms though, whether the knees are down or not. Nice inhale, exhale, knees down, lie down. Nice big inhale into cobra. Nice, releasing, exhale, bring it down to the ground. Tuck those toes, get all 10 toes nice and tucked, just like we had them for that last pose. Nice big inhale, push up. And exhale, push back to your heels. Keep those toes tucked as you press the hips back, stretching out the bottoms of those feet. And bring it on up to our downward facing dog. Keeping those feet on those railroad tracks. Float that left leg up. Draw the right heel down. So you can just lift the leg a little bit. You can lift it way up high if you want a nice big stretch. Nice big inhale, exhale, kick it through lunge. I haven't done kick through lunge in a while. For me anyway, I felt like I was doing it all the time, so I got away from it. All right, let's bring that left hip way down so it's right behind the knee. Walk those hands back so you're just on fingertips. And they're right underneath the shoulders. And so if you don't have long enough arms, you can use blocks, or we don't need those arms. We can float them up along the sides. Bring those hips down a little more if you can. See if you can draw that nice straight line from the heel to the hip to the shoulder. You can interlace behind as well. Or if you're feeling crazy this morning, you can float it forward. You can even come into, I forget what mudra this is, interlacing the fingers and extending. I should know. I know it. I do. My brain's not working. Inhale, reach. Exhale, release. Drop that back knee down. Top of the foot comes with it. Sweep the arms up. Push back a little bit so you can get that nice pelvic tilt. Scooping the tailbone forward, pulling the belly button back. So really pull the lower belly back. And then bend that knee, sink it down. Good morning, hip flexors, iliopsoas. Reach, breathe. Notice coming as close into or as deep into your crescent moon as feels good for you this morning. Inhale, exhale, release it into our twist. Bring that right hand into center. Open that left arm up. Push away from the floor. Reach on up. Spin that heart open. And come on. Back, tiptoe, or not tiptoe, fingertips. Come on up to fingertips. If you have blocks and can grab them quick, feel free to put those blocks under the hands. If you don't, just walk the hands back and only straighten the leg as much as you can, keeping that nice flat back and those nice hinged hips. So really hinge at the hips, reach through your bottom, forward through the heart, and maybe that leg doesn't come all the way straight. That's okay. We're just trying to get a stretch in the back of that left leg. Bend that knee, shift it forward, tuck the back toes under, lift the knee up, hop it forward, but keep the foot up off the floor, walking the hands forward. You can have blocks underneath those hands, or you can just make those teepees. So chances are right now the right hip is lifting open. Let's bring it down, bend that left knee, get those wrists right underneath the shoulders, and lengthen from heel to crown. And then see if you can come up, if you don't have blocks, see if you can come up to just the first 3 fingers, push away from the floor, and see how straight you can get that left leg. It's not going to come straight for many of you. My arms are as long as my legs, just about. So it makes it easy for me. Super balancy here. So bend that left knee if it's not already. Half moon. Okay, so grab that hip, right hand to the hip. Gaze is straight down in front of those toes. Push away from your block or the floor as you start to straighten that right leg and open the hip. Maybe the arm extends, maybe not. Keep it on the hip if you need to for the balance. Bring it back down, both hands on the floor. Bring that foot down so feet are even with each other. Half lift, inhale. Exhale, hinge. And all the way up. Into the heart. All right, nice big inhale up. Exhale, dive it on down. Get that nice stretch. This is the last, I think the last forward bend we're doing. So find it. Bend those knees, step it back. Plank. Knees down if you like. Nice inhale, push up. Exhale, knees down, lie down. Nice big inhale into cobra. Nice, releasing, exhale down, tuck those toes, push straight up, nice big inhale. And exhale, push back to those heels, keeping those toes tucked, stretching it on out. And then up, excuse me, to our downward facing dog. Feet are on railroad tracks. Draw those heels down, push on back into a nice solid downward facing dog. Draw that belly way into the spine. Float that right leg up. And again, it can float just a little. It can float a lot. So try to keep those hips square, especially if you're lifting that leg high. Nice, inhale, lift it up. Exhale, kick it through. Take a moment. Chances are it didn't get all the way through. Do a little adjusting there. Walk those hands back so the fingertips are right underneath the shoulders. Bring that right hip on down. See if you can get it as low as the knee. Find a home for those hands wherever you had them on the other side. So if you went into airplane arms, or interlacing, or you went for that overhead variation, switching the grasp if you did, finding that breath wherever you're at. See if you can sink that right hip a little lower. And release that, the fingers down the floor, release that knee down, top of the foot comes down, rise up. So get those hips nice and level, tailbone to the front, belly to the back. So really get that pelvic tilt going. Sweep those arms up. And bend that knee, sink the hips down, continuing to pull back through that belly. Finding your way into your Anjaneyasana. And slowly release into our twist, left hand in the center, right arm opens up. Press away from the floor, reach for the sky, sink it down as you twist open, breathe. And bring it on down. Find those fingertips, those first 3 fingers, or grab your blocks and walk those hands back, straightening out your right leg as much as you can. But instead of focusing on straightening the leg, focus more on the pivot of the hips, reaching back through those sitting bones and forward through the heart. So again, if you're not on blocks, that leg might not come all the way straight. It's just relaxed. So you're not trying to make it touch the floor. You're just letting it hang out however it wants. So if you flex it, it just really increases the stretch and makes you not be able to go as far. But if you try and keep it glued to the floor, then it bends your knee. So it's just kind of like letting that foot relax and it comes off the floor however much it comes off the floor. And over time, if we were really working on hamstrings and stuff, we would end up flexing after a couple of them. All right, let's shift it forward. Walk those hands forward, tuck those back toes, start hopping that foot forward, walking your hands forward. Get those hands under the shoulders once you get there. Then bring that left hip down so it's level with the right. Reach through that left heel, lengthening. If you're on blocks, awesome, push away from the blocks and lengthen. If you're on your hands, see if you can come to those first 3 fingers. We're just using them for balance, and see how straight you can get that right leg. Find your breath. And then when you're ready, slowly making your way into your half moon. Keep your drishti on the floor. That's one of the key pieces. So you can play around with the hand positioning, but we want that wrist under the shoulder. And if the hand is too far forward, it's not going to work. If it's too far out to the side, it's not going to work. Try to push away from the floor, opening that hip as I almost fall over. Turn back towards the floor, right back to where we just were. Bend that right knee, bring the left foot down. Half lift, inhale. That's why I hesitated before, because I'm like, wait, there might be one more forward bend. I couldn't remember. Yes, there is. This is really our last one. Let's bring it in. Let's grab the backs of those legs, lengthen, find your stretch, and bring it on up. Nice inhale. Into the heart. And press those hands in, wiggle them right into the heart center if you can. Find a drishti or gaze down to the fingertips. Feel the beating of the heart. You're alive. It's a good day. We're gonna bring it all the way right down onto our backs. So those of you that need to keep an eye on time who are live with me, it is 7:28. So you might want to head off into a couple minute shavasana if you have to leave us right on time this morning. We're probably going to go to 7:36, 7:37. So if you can stick with us, awesome. If not, totally understand. We're coming right down onto our backs, right back to where we started. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Let's see what that bridge, what a real bridge feels like now. So we didn't do, a whole lot of interlacing behind or, this kind of stretching. But that doesn't mean that we can't get those arms underneath us enough. We did get enough shoulder movement to open up those shoulders enough. So take some time to set it up. Now we want those ankles under the knees, and we really want to focus a little more on the shoulders getting as close together as possible. So if you can get them in and interlace underneath, awesome. If not, just get them as close as you can get them. And then same thing we were working on earlier of using the backs of the thighs, those hamstrings, to help the thighs reach up towards the sky. Using some glute, we have to use the glutes. We're trying, the glutes are the biggest muscle, one of the biggest muscles in the body. And so they're kind of a bully muscle. They like to take over. So we're trying to use them, but not just them. So think about using your legs. Then press into your arms, your shoulders, and try and draw your chest a little closer to your chin. Close your eyes. Find the breath. Maybe adjust the feet if they feel like they need to be adjusted. What we're trying to avoid here is letting the knees splay open. So try to keep the knees right in front of the hips. Okay, we're going to come down slowly. Okay, so come down just a little. Start to wiggle those shoulders and arms out. Let the arms come away from you so they're almost in shavasana. And then scoop the tailbone up towards the ceiling. So you're kind of rounding the low back a little bit. And then come down vertebrae by vertebrae. Hips are the last thing to hit. And drop those knees from side to side. Go ahead and stretch it on out long. Stretch those arms up overhead. Reach it on out. This time, let's interlace those fingers and flip the palms away, drawing the arms towards the floor, but lifting those ribs up, creating a gentle back bend as you press away. And then bring those knees on in, little rock. And let's stretch that right leg out, bring it down to the ground, all the way down. Flex that foot, activate that right leg. So pull that right leg down into the ground as you pull the left knee into the chest. So my foot is lifted just because my knee doesn't bend here. Hopefully your foot's just dropping down. Doesn't matter. So you can grab behind your thigh. You can grab in front of your shin. Think about aiming your knee towards the inside of your shoulder joint, right? So it's staying in line with the hip joint. So the shoulder joint and hip joint are usually close. The shoulder joint's a little wider than the hip, so we don't want to be that wide out. So basically, your knee would end up aiming right for your breastbone. Pull it in a little more if you can. Draw that right leg down a little more if you can. Find the breath. Take a nice deep breath all the way down into the belly. And then take that left knee over to the right for a twist. Stretching that left arm out to a T if you can. You can play with this twist. It can be many different things. It can be an outer hip stretch. It can be low back. It can be shoulder. It can be all of the above. All right, let's bring it back to center. Hug both of those knees in again. Squeeze it on in. And then let's do that other side. So hugging that right knee in, yes, right knee in, stretching the left leg out. Activating that left leg. Drawing that left leg down into the ground. Closing those eyes, tuning in as you pull that right knee into the chest. So we're not just kind of casually holding it there, like we're actively really trying to pull that knee as close to the chest as we can, almost so we're compressing. We feel some compression of our thigh into our ribs, and that's not what it's about. It's not about compressing the ribs or digestion, any of that. Not that it doesn't help with digestion, because it does. But it's more about this low back release. So the deeper we get that knee into the chest, the closer we get it to the chest, the more we feel that compression of the ribs with the thigh, the more that subtle low back release happens. Taking it over into your twist when you're ready. Sorry, you guys, I had the mute on. So those of you on the recording, I'm sorry. We're finding our way into Shavasana for 2 minutes, if you're not there already. So take a moment to settle in. Get those arms and legs to fully relax. Just let go. Like the rest of our life right now. Like, okay, hurry up, relax. Just drop. Drop, drop, drop. Drop, 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 drop. Let go, let go, let go. Coming back to that breath again. Using that breath as a tool to keep you here in this moment, but also to connect with this letting go. Feeling fully what those exhales do. Exhaling fully and feeling that full release. As the mind wanders, bring it back, reconnect with those exhales. Maybe adding let go to your exhales. So as much as I would like to stay here much longer, I know some of you have schedules to keep, so we will start to wiggle and stretch and move slowly, intentionally, making your way upright, slowly, taking your time. And eventually landing at heart center. And finding the breath. Finding that breath here at the heart center. Tucking the chin, breathing right into that heart center. In the quiet time, I am lifted to a place where beauty wraps herself around me. Peace enters my spirit, embracing, then erasing my needs. And the relaxing ribbon of serenity connects me to the eternity of now, between yesterday and tomorrow. I'm at one with the universe. My soul is renewed, and I am again made whole. It is in those subtle moments when we can find them, where we manage to find that stillness, even if it's only for a half a breath. Let's find a little stillness now as we just take a nice big inhale and exhale, bow down. Saying thank you to yourself for showing up on your mat